15 years, the damage that load shedding has brought to this economy has been incalculable.
The death toll from the recent floods in the South African province of KwaZulu-Natal has risen to 49.
After a fairly subdued night, the Knysna fires have begun to grow again.
We begin tonight with the nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent.
London's burning and no one seems able to bring it under control.
You're listening to Off-Grid Survival, South Africa's first prepper podcast.
And we are your hosts, Brett and Ben.
Morning, Ben. How's it going?
I'm well, and yourself?
Lekker, man. We're on episode 5 this week. Things are definitely cracking on with the podcast, and I'm having a lot of fun doing the research.
Yeah, it's been great. How's the weather been?
Dude, this weather's been insane. In episode 1, I commented that South Africa doesn't get extreme weather, and it looks like the weather gods have taken up the challenge. We've had I think we had, 2 tornadoes in KZN, one in Biltong.
Biltong, yeah.
We had one tornado in Biltong that took out an entire school and destroyed a small suburb. The videos online, I thought I was watching something from the States, from Tornado Alley. But this is like KZN, dude. I've never heard of that. We've had small little twisters and stuff before.
No, yeah, water spouts and stuff.
But that thing was massive. Then we're getting snow. Everywhere. And I know I did previously say that South Africa doesn't get extreme weather and people's pipes don't freeze and that sort of thing. And I need to make a correction. I was having dinner with friends last night who are from Joburg, and they corrected me and said they lived in the Vaal, and they said quite often the pipes would freeze. I'm a coastal boy, so I'm not used to that kind of cold weather. So
yeah, the Free State and the Karoo, they get freeze.
Yeah, I know. I see Bloemfontein had a bit of snow this week. We've had some flooding down here on the Garden Route.
The N3 was closed between Joburg and Pietermaritzburg for snow, as far as I know.
For snow for the comrades?
No, it was a snow.
For snow, okay. But yeah, no, we've had a couple of crazy weeks of weather. PE had some serious flooding. George had some flooding, and here along the Garden Route section, we also had a little bit of flooding.
Utenay got nailed.
Did they also get nailed? Yeah. And then, like I said, that tornado in KZN, that was just one of the most bizarre things I've seen in South African weather.
All the more reason to get prepped.
Well, that's it. It's like the weather is changing and it's getting more extreme. And if you're not prepared, then what do you do when your house does get knocked down by a tornado or a flood happens or fire happens, as we so often discuss?
Or the road is flooded and you can't get to town because you've only got half a day's worth of food in your house. You messed,
Yeah. So quite often here, I'll see on our local traffic group that the Maringspoort Pass is closed.
Oh, badly closed.
And when when that comes down, that river comes down in flood, it is something to see. Yeah. And people can't get from here to Uniondale or Prince Albert and those smaller towns. So the trucks can't get through, which means that the people can't get supplies at their...
Yeah. No. Or even just outside Sedgefield, Karawata, one drift, low-level bridge, it was completely underwater.
Yeah, that happens every time it rains. That's the guys going out towards Karatra there.
Mm. Yeah, and I saw George Lakes, where the sailing academy is.
Yes,
the water was almost right up against the sheds, the boat sheds.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, we do have extreme weather. I acknowledge that. The weather gods, you can stop now. Thank you. I want my sunshine and my warm back. But yeah, I think let's get on with today's episode. And I think we're going to do a deeper dive into also something we discussed in episode 1, which is food preps and storage. Okay, so I got a message on our Instagram from one of our listeners. He's part of an anti-poaching unit. And he was just commenting that on our last episode where we were talking about having some disposable cash in our bug-out bags, that they actually keep folded up 100 or 200 Rand notes in the Velcro patches on their jackets and on their backpacks.
Nice. Do they waterproof them?
I think he said they keep them in a Ziploc baggie, yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that gives them, in an emergency, they've always got cash on hand.
Yes.
But yeah, it's great hearing from people. So guys, keep sending us those messages on Instagram and Facebook. We love getting feedback.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Cool. So I'm going to jump straight into our episode now. In our first episode, we touched briefly on the subject of food preps and storage. In this episode, I want to do a deeper dive first into different types of food available in South Africa, and then maybe we can touch on different ways of storing stuff.
South Africa, we've got different food to a lot of what the rest of the world, the prep stuff that we see.
Yeah.
What we have available and our tastes are different.
Very much so. And this may be controversial, but good way to see what the best local foods are to prep is to look at what the poorest people are actually eating. So in South Africa, it'll be things like maize meal and samp. Those are staples that people have been living on for years now. I've had discussions with staff at work where if they buy red meat mince, it's once a month.
Yeah.
They will rather buy soya because it's cheap and it goes a lot further. So you get those little boxes of soy mince. When it comes to food prep, you can go out and you can splurge.
Yeah.
You can buy these really awesome products, freeze-dried mince, freeze-dried chicken strips, and they're great products. They're really top quality products, but they're expensive. So a bag of freeze-dried mince that once rehydrated comes to 1 kilo will set you back about 320 Rand. And I decided to do a little bit of an exercise when it came to this episode, that I took that 1 kilo of freeze-dried mince and I wanted to see what I could buy in the shop, not on special, for a similar amount of money.
And what did you find?
So let me give you a quick breakdown. 2 kilogram Tastic white rice, 49.99. 2.5 kilogram maize meal, 33.99. 1 kilo of samp, 16.99. 500 grams of the Imbo soup mix with the lentils and the split peas and all that stuff in it, 15.99. Half a kilo of red sugar beans, 26 Rand. A 200 gram box of soya mince, which is pretty much the equal amount to that 1 kilo of freeze-dried mince, 21 Rand. A tin of tuna, that's getting expensive now, 22 Rand. Top quality corned beef, 38 Rand. Tin of mixed veggies, 400 grams, 27 Rand. 400 gram tin of chickpeas, which is an awesome protein source, 20 Rand. If I got one of each of those, it comes to only 271 Rand. So that is nearly a week's supply of food for less than 1 kilo of freeze-dried mince.
And why would you want to go freeze-dried?
Look, freeze-dried products are amazing. They are awesome. I love them. Their shelf life is 20 plus years. You can put that stuff on the shelf. You can leave it there, put it in your bug-out bag, put it in a box. It's Mylar, vacuum sealed already. You don't have to touch it. 20 years time, you can open that bag, rehydrate it, and you are basically eating as if it was fresh. I've seen videos of the guys taking freeze-dried steaks, literally soaking them in a bowl of water and then having a braai with it.
Nice.
So yes, the product does have its place, but for a starting out prepper, use your funds wisely.
Yeah.
Rather go and bulk out on your rice, your maize, your samp, get big bags of that, vacuum seal it yourself in Mylar bags or put it in buckets that seal them with oxygen absorbers. Do something along those lines. Get your staples sorted out before you start investing in long-term food supply. Something like a freeze-dried product, you're not going to crack that open if the roads have been closed for bad weather and you know that they're going to be open in 2 days. You're going to open the can of bully beef.
Yeah.
You're not going to go and dive into that bag of 20-year shelf life freeze-dried food.
When you take this dried stuff and if you properly store it, if you vacuum pack it in Mylar with oxygen absorber, how long do you think you could actually push the best buy date out to?
So different products have different time frames and it all depends on how you do it. Something like rice, if you put that in a Mylar bag with the oxygen absorber, you can also get a good 20 years on that.
Yeah.
Same goes for flour, salt, sugar, things like pasta. I would say probably about 10 years.
Okay.
And once you start getting into dehydrated veggies and that sort of thing, things get a bit different because it all depends on how dehydrated it is, if there's still a moisture content to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, your dried beans and stuff are good for and lentils for your protein so that you
definitely
get that in. I know a lot of people look for your starches, but if you know how to forage, you can get a lot of your starches and stuff. But I'm not into eating scorpions and stuff like that. So yes. I need something that I can get protein into my diet.
So on the protein side, they always talk about legumes. So things like your lentils, chickpeas, other good protein sources are things like kidney beans, and then as well as your soya.
Yeah.
Soy is a great staple. You can flavor it. It's got a similar texture to meat. It can make a boring meal interesting and give you the protein boost that you need.
Yeah. I suppose if you use some of that soy mince or even just normal soy and you put some of that chicken's, no meat chicken stock
Yes.
with it, you'll have a really nice meal.
Yeah, so a lot of the soy, the ready-made soy that you get, the brand is, I think it's also Imbo that makes it.
Yeah, Spar used to have their own brand.
Yeah, I don't think they do it anymore. I haven't seen it
was
around.
The best tasting one.
Oh, okay. But yeah, a lot of them they come ready flavored. So I know in my preps, I've got the tomato and onion flavor, which is obviously going to give you more of a bolognese kind of vibe.
Yes.
I've also got an oxtail one. And then you get, I think I saw chili and South Africa's favorite chakalaka flavor. Yeah. Personally, when it comes to my preps, I try not to go for spicy foods. I have spices. Yes. I have hot sauce that I can add. Yeah. But I think I don't buy things like tins of chakalaka. Yeah. I don't buy tins of curried veggies and stuff like that, because I will rather add my own spice to stuff to how I want it. I don't want to eat a tin of spicy Indian curry veggies and I run out of toilet paper.
No, exactly.
So, like I said, I rather spice things to how I want them.
Yeah, I want to try the soya mince, where you can actually go buy soy that's unflavored.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of the soya mince that they put flavors to, you get a very chemically taste to it. And I want to actually try doing my own, like that spice that you made with that chicken stock, and you add that to it when you pack it. So you work out how much of all these things that you bought, you make a little bag and you make a mix that is one bag for, say, 2 of you or 4 of you, and you vacuum pack that with everything in it, and then actually see how nice it tastes after a year.
Yeah, so soy it's an interesting product. You can buy it in chunks. You can buy soybeans. You can get it in a couple of different ways and different coarsenesses, if I can put it that way. I have seen it available unflavored. I haven't bought any myself yet, but it is something I'm also looking at doing.
Yeah, I've just bought 5 kilos of fava beans from, I think.
Did you get a nice Chianti with that?
No. But when I was searching it, that reference came up a lot. I bought it from a place called Pure and Whole, and I want to see what else they have available. I was just trying these beans because my dad wanted them.
Okay, well, let me know. I'd love to. I've never tried them myself, so let me know how they come out.
Yeah, we'll do.
Let us all know.
I might bring you some so you can try it.
Cool. So as we get further into our preps and into prepping, food is so essential to well-being and happiness that having good quality food, having abundant food, I think is really important. Having 1 or 2 square meals a day can make the difference between having a good mindset and just being totally depressed. And in a bad situation, whether it's a civil unrest situation where you've been cut off, whether it's fires or floods, or you snowed in, having a cup of hot chocolate or having some peanut butter can make all the difference to a person's mood. Not only are you getting energy from it, but you're feeling good. Yeah. When we eat nice food that we're happy with, that we're used to eating, it gives us a place of comfort.
Changes your mindset on your
Definitely,
situation.
Yeah. Anybody that's been hiking will know that the guy that's got just the straight up trail mix is probably the grumpiest guy on trail, but the guy with the bar one who's having a nice chocolate is having a bit more fun sometimes.
I prefer my trail mix.
Yeah, but I've seen your trail mix. There's a lot in that stuff. But yeah, when I was recently down in Cape Town, I decided to pop in at Macro and have a look if they've got any of those buckets that we see in all the American YouTube videos. Seeing as Macro is now part of Massmart, which is owned by Walmart. Unfortunately, they don't.
Empty buckets or?
No, the full buckets, like those Mountain House buckets that you always see the guys buying, where it's got like a 30-day supply of emergency food in it.
Yeah.
I know I was being hopeful.
In South Africa, it's more a luxury.
Yes. So, like I said, because Macro is part of the Walmart group through distant cousins, I was hoping that maybe they had bought some of that in. I was also hoping maybe they'd have some of the American canned products that we see. I'm so envious of those guys with their canned pulled pork and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, we are left with pretty much our normal products that are on the shelf. So the normal tinned meats that I've found is obviously your different brands of bully beef, as we call it, or corned meat. There's different brands, and different brands are different qualities. I saw one the other day that was 80 Rand for a can. It was the Bull brand black can.
Okay.
It's a 95% meat. I'm like, okay, well then what's in the other can?
Well, a lot of it has corn. It has cereals.
It's got a bit of soy in it. It's got a bit of cereal in it to bulk it out. Yeah. And I'm also not sure what they mean by meat.
Well, chicken lips and that type of thing.
Yeah, all the good stuff that we miss. And then obviously tuna is probably the most common tinned fish around. It's getting a bit pricey nowadays.
And what do you say to the people that say if you eat tuna, you're likely to die of mercury poisoning or something?
Well, if it's at that point of the apocalypse that you're worried about mercury poisoning and not lead poisoning, yeah. So you can get tuna that is mercury free or ethically sourced and that sort of thing. It does cost more. The stuff that we get locally at the moment, I think people panic too much over a lot of that kind of stuff personally.
Yeah.
You'd have to eat so much tuna to absorb mercury. You'd literally have to have like 3 tins a day.
Yeah.
And I'm not at that point in my life where I'm going to be eating 3 tins of tuna a day.
No. I have thought about trying to make bokoms. It's where you take mullet and you salt them and you hang them to dry. I don't know if it works so well in our climate. I'd have to build a drying box.
Yeah, I've smelt that stuff before, and I can honestly say I'm not a fan.
I've tasted it. It's nice.
No,
it's like pickled herring.
No, thank you.
Roll mops. Awesome.
I'm not a great fish person. I don't do seafood generally. Tinned tuna is as adventurous as I get. Other tinned fish products, there's imported tinned herring on the market.
Now you're talking luxury.
Yeah. No, we're talking like 60 Rand a can.
Yeah.
Yes. It's expensive stuff, but if that's a kind of food that's going to make you feel good, and maybe you've got a 7-day kit, you want to have 1 can of that in there just to give you that little bit of a boost, that motivation and that energy.
I must say, I prefer choosing things for long-term storage that if it goes off slightly, you're less likely to die. Like seafood, chicken, that type of stuff. If it goes off, you can get nasty sick.
So we'll get into this just now about expiry dates.
Yeah.
But I've opened a tin of tuna 2 years past its best before, eaten it, it was fine.
Yes.
But it had been stored properly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So other meat products, we've got the pilchards, very popular. Sardines in oil are really good. The omega-3 oils and stuff, which is really good for you as well.
I take it you don't do the chili pilchards.
No, I don't buy chili stuff. And then, as I've mentioned before, tinned chicken, the tinned chicken breast.
Okay.
That I am quite partial to.
Do you need to cook?
You don't need to cook it. I've eaten it straight out the tin.
Okay. Because I've been on hikes where people take smoked chicken breast and they eat it on the 3rd day. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, no, so smoking meat and tinned meat are 2 very different things.
Yes.
And especially when you've got it in your backpack. I would not want to leave a packet of smoked chicken in my bag for a week, let alone long term.
No, definitely not. What about stuff like cream corn? Is that you think more a luxury than a staple?
So I've got different veggies. I've got corn. I've got creamed corn. It gives you a variety. So I've got whole kernel corn.
Yes.
In my pantry. I've got creamed corn in my pantry. They're different products for different things. So if you wanted to make a corn bread, for instance,
yes,
you could rather use the creamed corn than the normal corn.
Yeah.
The normal corn I would use more in a stew. But that creamed corn, you can make you've got a nice flat bottom potjie pot. You can make a really nice loaf of bread using your maize, a bit of flour, some water, salt, and then some creamed corn mixed with it. And it bulks out really nicely. And that'll keep you going for a good couple of days.
You were talking about nutritional yeast. Like, would you put something like that in that bread just to add nutrition but also flavor?
So the nutritional yeast, as is like that, would probably give it a bit of almost a cheesy, meaty kind of flavor.
Well, cheese and corn go nicely together.
Yeah, they do. And getting something like cheese in a situation where maybe the shops haven't been open for a couple of months, that is definitely going to be a luxury item. I think any dairy product is going to be a luxury item.
Oh, that was the next thing I was going to say is some of the breads require milk. Do you look at powdered milk or cremora
So cremora and Ellis Brown and those sort of things, that's mainly palm oil. That's where it gets the creamy flavor from. Long-term storage of that, you might get 2 years, 3 years out of that. Full cream milk powder, everything I've seen, all the best before dates on that stuff is 6 months to a year.
Yes.
So it's not shelf stable for long term.
Well, if you're rotating, so it's a lifestyle, and you're rotating through your stock, then you always have a 6 month supply.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't use powdered milk, so I can't rotate.
At 60 Rand, 70 Rand a kilo for powdered full cream milk, it's cheaper to use bottled milk.
We find long life milk is cheaper to buy.
Yeah.
You know, the box milk.
And the box milk will give you pretty much the same lifespan as a packet of, that's also 6 to 8 months on box milk.
Yes.
What will last you, however, is ideal milk and condensed milk.
Okay.
Obviously, condensed milk is a lot sweeter. Your ideal milk or evaporated milk is not as sweet, and it's a lot more liquidy. Condensed milk is great for baking and that sort of thing. Yeah. But you can use ideal milk in your coffee as a replacement. Can you bulk
up the ideal milk to make it more?
I'm sure you could add some water to it. I've never tried it.
Yes.
To be honest, that's maybe something we must look into.
Yeah. Once we get around to talking to some chefs and that type of thing, that can give us a lot of insight into what we don't know.
So I enjoy cooking. I cook all the time. And what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to incorporate some dehydrated foods, some spices and stuff that I use and stuff that I've got in my preps into my daily cooking, just so that I can get more of an idea of how to cook something. As we mentioned once before, I had never tried samp before. I had never eaten it until we went on that camp.
Yes.
And Craig made that amazing samp with butter and bovril.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But my question is now, in a grid down situation where we haven't had butter, what is a good substitute for butter?
Yeah, well, I mean, bovril also keeps for a long time. I've had some chili bovril that I've been using.
Not in my house.
Last 4 years.
No, that stuff disappears very quickly in my house. I love the stuff. But
get some, what's that, Vegemite?
Oh,
you won't use it very quickly.
The Aussies can keep their Vegemite. Thanks, guys. No offense. But yeah, that stuff, that takes a special person to eat that stuff.
It has its place. It's that nutritional yeast flavor.
Yeah, the bottom of the deepest pit of hell. I have had it. Vegemite, no. That you'll never catch that stuff near my preps.
Well, it depends where you're trying to escape to.
So yeah, just getting back to some pricing stuff. Like we were saying, how expensive stuff can be. I found a company online selling Mountain House in South Africa. 1 packet of beef stew. 1 packet. This is for 2 people for 1 meal. 830 Rand.
Where's it made? US?
It's from the States, imported from the States.
Well, that's the problem, yeah.
But, don't go out and buy 1 meal for 830 Rand. I don't even spend that much when I go out to a restaurant for 2 people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're one of those people that 830 Rand won't bother, go for it.
Yeah.
That's not this channel.
You can do so much more with your money for your preps.
Yeah.
You can go, like nearly 1,000 Rand, you could kit yourself out for nearly a month.
Yeah. I was working with a group of kids, and we went through to George to pack meals for disadvantaged people. And, it's a feeding scheme that this company has. And it's amazing how many people you can feed. It's like a little pack feeds 4 people.
Yes.
And we were 1 scoop of this, 1 scoop of this, a teaspoon of this, and you make a line and you just pack these meals. And they design it around the best tasting meal they can get out of the cheapest amount, so that they can feed the most amount of people out of that money. So we got to look at it for ourselves as well. Rather look at kitting yourself out for months and then get a few luxury items just to make those months seem not so bad, than trying to expend a huge amount of money on a few meals that aren't going to get you through a week.
So a little bit of a spoiler here. I'm in discussions with a company called Food Socks.
Food Socks.
They're based in George, and I'm hoping that we are soon going to be doing an interview with them and maybe even go for a little tour of their factory.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, so keep your ears peeled for that. So when it comes to prepping, you don't have to shop on a budget, as we've discussed. So most of us don't have huge amounts of disposable income that we can just throw at something. We've got to budget and plan. And as I said before, it's pointless buying things that you don't like. So if you're allergic to smoked mussels, you're not going to buy smoked mussels. It's pointless buying that. Look at things that you like. I know I keep coming back to this, but it must be food that you yourself enjoy eating regularly, because you might get stuck eating that stuff for the next 2 years.
Yes.
So don't buy stuff you don't like.
Yeah. And the best prepping is a lifestyle of prepping.
Yeah.
And you take what you do in your life and the food that you eat. And if you've got a weekly food plan, so I know my wife likes to cook certain things on certain days because of the things that we have during the evenings.
Yeah.
So it's kind of repetitive. The flavors change, but the meal plan stays the same. So if you have a lifestyle of that, gear your prep around that, because that's how you do a turnover of your food. So it's always keeping current.
And having a meal plan or having recipes that you've cooked before and use the stuff that you have in those recipes. So if you are making mac and cheese,
yes,
use your ingredients that you have in your preps as much as possible to make that.
And don't be afraid to look at a recipe book and not follow it.
Well, recipes are guidelines.
Well, that's the thing. You read a recipe book to see what things fit together and what flavors
What gives
work.
an idea, yeah.
And then you throw it out and you do your own thing.
Yeah. So, for instance, I remember years back, I was doing a mountain leadership course and we were given food items and told, okay, this is for your dinner. You got to make enough food for 5 people.
Yes.
And it was a packet of dehydrated veggies, a small packet of rice, and a tin of bully beef.
Okay.
And it's like, what the hell do you do with this? So we literally just toyed it all in a pot.
Cooked it up.
And we cooked it up and we made stew.
Bully beef makes a nice broth, eh?
Yeah. No, and look, we had, everybody always carries a little bit of salt and stuff like that with them.
Yeah.
So there was more than enough flavor. Just make sure with your veggies and those sort of things that you do soak them beforehand. Don't just chuck them straight in the pot. They need time to reabsorb water.
Yeah. Well, what you can always do is you make a more liquidy broth with so that the flavor of the meat soaks into the veggies.
Yeah.
So you don't have that soaked in fresh water taste to your veggies.
Yeah. So I think one of the most important things in a prep is salt. Salt can cover a multitude of sins, and it can be used for food preservation as well.
Yeah, dehydration, food preservation, disinfecting, cleaning stuff. Yeah, salt is very useful.
Yeah, and if it is hot weather and you're sweating a lot, you do need to replace salts in your body, and salt in your food is probably one of the easiest ways to do that.
Salt has such a bad rep in modern diets and stuff, modern thinking about food.
That's because so much of our processed food is saturated with sodium. Yeah.
So when is a good time to start prepping?
I heard a while back, I can't remember which channel it was, that 10 years ago is the best time to have started prepping. But today is the second best day to start prepping.
Oh,
so it's always a good time to start prepping. Don't think that because you haven't prepped before that it's too late.
Yes.
It's never too late to start. You can never be prepared enough. So you're always going to be building onto your preps.
Most people have a negative concept or an idea of prepping. They think it's a bunch of oaks storing guns somewhere in a hole. And if you buy toothpaste, and well, every one of us buy a toothpaste, but if you buy like 2 tubes of toothpaste ahead of time so that you don't run out, or when your tube runs out, you have. That is prepping. It's a form of prepping. We're talking about just extending that a bit further into the future.
I was listening to Road Preparedness during the week, and she was saying that it always amazes her when she goes to the shop and she sees people buying 1 roll of toilet paper. Because what are you going to do when you're sitting on the loo and
the curry came back to talk
and you run out of toilet paper? You don't have a spare roll of bog roll.
Yeah.
That's why we buy packs of 18 toilet paper.
Also, it's cheaper.
Or apart from that, but the last thing you want to do is not have toilet paper.
You know what might be? She's just filling up her stash from COVID. So maybe they have still a huge amount from COVID.
So food is not the only stuff that we prep, obviously. And we will be doing a episode soon on hygiene preps.
Yeah. Which
will include first aid and things like toothpaste and toilet paper and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that can be quite an interesting one as well, because with that, there's a lot of things that people just don't think about.
Things that you can't harvest or prep for yourself or find or build for yourself are the things that are going to be the most valuable, because, I mean, you look at little alcohol wipes for first aid kit. To make those, you're going to need a way more time invested into that prep.
Yes.
When you're going through something. So it's easier to buy them and they last for a long time.
So we do live in quite a disposable society, and we kind of used to buying stuff, single-use stuff.
Yes.
So I know personally I'm trying to get into the mindset of buying things or using things that have got multiple uses. So if I buy, for instance, instant coffee, I buy it with a type of jar that I can reuse. I don't buy it in a disposable packet.
Yes.
So I want to be able to use that jar for maybe preserving stuff or storing something else in further down the line. You can go down a rabbit hole and become a hoarder, which can be a problem.
Oh, one man's hoarder.
Well, I've just moved house, and man, you collect a lot of crap over the years.
Yeah, that said, and if one of those pieces of junk go missing, next week you need it.
Yeah, I still need to get rid of a lot of junk. But let's get back to food.
Yeah.
Okay? Although we're talking about all this food is actually starting to make me a bit hungry. So, as I said, if you eat rice at home, buy bulk rice.
Yes.
Okay. If you're buying one, buy two. So when it comes to things like what I do with my cans is that if I'm in the shop and I'm buying a tin of tuna, I buy 2 tins of tuna. One for use now and one for my prep.
Yes.
Can't always do it, and you can't do it with everything. But every shopping trip that I do, I try and get at least one thing for my prep. And working on a budget, keeping your costs down, that's the easiest way to do it. Because adding 20 Rand to your grocery bill isn't going to break the bank.
Yes.
So add that can of baked beans, add that can of tuna. If you've got the money, throw in another bag of rice. And slowly but surely, you'll build your preps up.
Also, part of your prepping is prepping your family to use and replace, because some families have one person that wants to prep and the other person just doesn't think ahead to buy that extra. So they use, say, your tins of tuna until it's done.
Yeah.
But the best thing is when both of you or the whole family will buy the new tuna, put it to the back of the shelf, and take the old one off the front of the shelf.
So I think
that you're cycling.
With people that have kids and married people and that sort of thing, with your partners, try and get them interested in prepping as well. Yes. They might not be interested at all. They might not see the value in it. But if you just discuss it and go, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm buying 2 tins instead of just 1 tin. This is why I write the dates on the can so I can easily read them. And explaining that, what you'll find is that people slowly get into that mindset, even if they don't consider themselves a prepper.
Yes.
They'll slowly start going, okay, now I must look for the one at the latest date. And it becomes a mindset. It becomes a bit of a way of life almost.
Yeah. And one thing COVID should have showed everyone, prepping has its place. And
definitely.
Just because you think the world is too civilized to stand still, doesn't mean it can't stand still.
Once you've got the basics, you can start looking at more elaborate stuff. Foods that will give you more variety and stop meals from becoming boring. But to start with, set a goal for yourself on what you want to achieve. I started with building up a kit that would last 7 days, that we could grab, we could put it in the car in an emergency, and we could go. That was my goal, was to get a 7-day kit sorted out. From there, I've now grown my preps
to a more home-based type.
Yeah, so I've got my emergency grab and goes, but I've also got what is now turning into a genuine prepper pantry.
I see you use Mylar a lot. Why did you choose to use Mylar?
So Mylar is kind of like the gold standard that everybody always talks about. Okay. Again, it's a lot easier to get hold of in the States than it is here, but it is available here.
Now, what's the difference between just a normal freezer bag and...
So Mylar bag, it's a laminated bag. It's got multiple layers.
Okay.
So you've got an outside plastic layer, you've got an inside foil layer, and then an inside plastic layer.
Yes.
And that's all laminated together, and it stops moisture, it stops odor, it stops light getting to the product that's inside. So it stops all the stuff that's going to degrade your food.
Okay.
over time. And if you've got a good quality Mylar bag with, depending on the product, an oxygen absorber, then you can get that in, you can vacuum seal it, and you can stick that in a box or on your shelf, and 10, 20 years, that stuff's still going to be good.
Yeah, I've seen some guys before even vacuum sealing in Mylar, they'll produce carbon dioxide and fill the whole bag full of carbon dioxide to expel any oxygen, and then they'll throw an oxygen absorber in.
Jeez, okay, that's quite an involved way of doing it.
I've heard of guys kills all the bugs.
Yeah, I've heard of guys using nitrogen as well, but that gets expensive. Where you literally pipe nitrogen.
It's easier to make carbon dioxide.
However, it is dangerous, so don't do it in a closed room.
Yes, don't breathe it.
Well, yeah, our bodies don't like
breathe
carbon
it out.
dioxide.
Don't breathe it in.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Mylar, like I said, Mylar, it has its place. I haven't been able to find like the giant Mylar bags that you see the guys in the videos,
what
YouTube
what
videos.
Giant?
They're talking like 10-gallon bags that'll go into like a bucket.
That's 40 liters.
Yeah, it goes into like a full bucket.
Yeah, that would be big.
Yeah, so they'll buy like 20 kilos of rice and vacuum seal that all in one go inside a bucket.
Okay.
What you'll see in a lot of the videos is that the guys don't just use Mylar.
Yes.
They use a Mylar bag and then they put it in something because
from rats, mice.
It's to protect it from pests. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody that's ever had a mouse in their house knows how insidious the little buggers can be, and they can get into everything.
It's almost as bad as a cat in a hat.
Yeah, unintended puns, sorry. But yeah, having things like ants, fish moths, weevils, which we've talked about before, and rodents, they can destroy your preps.
Yeah.
So having stuff in plastic bags or Mylar bags that's vacuum sealed is good. Next level, put it into a box that can be either locked or has got a clip lid, airtight seal on it. That's, from a storage point of view, it just gives you more peace of mind.
Yes.
Firstly, and it's harder for stuff to get broken. And if you need to grab it, you can grab the whole box and go.
Yeah. Well, talking about fish moths, my mom always used to use Epsom salts. Now you can buy Epsom salts in a tub from Agri, and you can use it in bath. You know, like relax your muscles, aches and pains. You can use it in some guys use it in the garden.
It can be used as a fertilizer as well.
But you use it for fish moths, and there it comes down to, if you're going to do long-term storage, even the literature you want to keep, you can put a bit of Epsom salts and vacuum pack that.
Yeah.
Keep pests from eating the stuff that you want to read.
Yes.
At that, you know, like if you got a recipe book, like a backpacker's recipe book that you want to keep in your bag, make sure that it is protected as well.
Yeah, definitely. The whole thing with prepping for long term is having stuff that is going to last you. You need to make the effort to protect your stuff from destruction.
Yeah.
So whether it is protecting your home with an alarm system or putting stuff in a vacuum sealed bag to stop bugs getting to it, they're just different levels of the same thing.
Yes.
For some people, an SHTF situation might be the collapse of civilization. For others, it could be something like losing your job. Either way, you're going to be in a situation where you can't get to the shop to buy food, so having some put away is probably the best insurance that you can have. What happens if something as simple as having a car accident puts you out of commission for 3 months? Paying your rent is going to be your priority. Having a roof over your head for you and your family is probably going to be the most important thing. And having that backup of food is going to give you peace of mind that you can use the savings that you've got for keeping your family safe.
Yeah, and if you want to go take prep that far, build it into your budget.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone should do a budget, even though it tells you can't afford to live. But you should do a budget and assign a certain value to future prep for food.
Yeah.
But look at it also in, do you have a disability insurance? So if you're in
that's a prep
car accident, you know, do you have things that will protect you, your income or anything like that? Yeah. There are financial advisors that can talk you through it. We're not that.
Definitely not.
But yeah, it's part of the prepper mindset is not only the physical stuff.
Yes.
Immediate. You need to look at life insurance.
Yeah.
You know,
so
you prepare for the future for your family. just like you're going to prepare your food for your family in the future.
So in South Africa, I think things are getting interesting at the moment.
Yeah.
We've just had elections. There's all sorts of arguments about coalitions and who's going to be joining what party to run what. At the end of the day, you need to look after yourself. You can't rely on a bunch of politicians to look after you. They don't care about you.
Even your most favorite politician is going to make some rule at some point that negatively impacts you.
Yeah. So look at how you prep and look at what you and your family need.
Yeah.
Insurance, whether it's food insurance like we do with prepping with our food, whether it's car insurance because you drive a lot, whether it's household insurance, those are all forms of prep. People in South Africa seem to think that prepping is for these weird wackos that are waiting for the nuclear bombs to fall or the zombies to come out of the bush.
But you don't believe in zombies?
We can dream. No, prepping is about getting into a mindset of looking after yourself.
Yes. Not relying on big daddy government to come get you out of it.
That's it.
Problem.
We're not here to be doomsayers and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation in this country is that we do have protests, we do have civil unrest, and trucks can't get through to shops.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do when a situation like in Durban in 2021, where for a week there were riots, full-blown riots, and the entire suburbs were cut off?
Yeah.
What are you going to do in that situation when you can't get to the shop and you can't get fresh food? Now your cupboard starts running dry.
Yeah.
Now the water gets turned off.
Not to mention
now it's load shedding.
every bit of damaged property that companies have to endure pushes the price of food,
totally.
services, all that up.
Yeah.
Because all that has to be replaced by
Yes.
the companies you're buying from.
We're not here to doom and gloom.
Yeah.
We want to have fun with this, but we've got to be real.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So
to bring us away from like depressing thoughts of the future, and what would you be happy eating every day for 3 weeks if you had to choose a meal, or like say a breakfast, lunch and supper that you had to eat every day for 3 weeks?
So it'd have to have the same meal for breakfast, lunch and supper.
We'll say that's all you could afford. What would you?
Oh, dude, for 3 weeks, that's a tough one. I've had to eat the same meal for 3 days and I got gutful. So
I'm talking like, breakfast can be different to supper.
Yes. So I would recommend, personally, if you can make something like a stew. I think stews are versatile. And the nice thing, what I've done personally, just in my normal everyday cooking, is I've made a stew that lasted us a week. And then, like I said, on day 3, I'm getting gutful with the stew. So now I add some curry powder to it.
Yes.
And that stew is now not the best curry in the world, but it's a different meal.
Yes.
But the essential ingredients haven't changed. Just by changing the spice that goes into it, I've changed the meal.
Yes.
Yeah, well, so that stews are very versatile.
I must say, mieliepap is nice because you can make a krummelpap, you can make a slappap, you can make a stewepap, and you make pap for the braai at night, and the next morning you can put a bit of milk with sugar with it, and you have breakfast.
Okay.
So if you can really change the flavor just by,
and if you've got a way of grinding it a bit finer, you can turn it into a flour, and you can make bread with it.
Yes. Well, even coarse, it doesn't rise as well. So if you have an all-purpose or a cake flour or a bread flour to add to it, you can.
Yeah, but cornbread cornbread tastes good.
I was stuck on a farm once years ago. Didn't have a lot of money, but when you make mieliepap, that part that burns on the bottom tastes very much like a beacon bite. Okay, so I went out to try and make my own beacon bites, and pap and water doesn't stick together. So what I was doing is adding an egg to it to try and get it to stick together, make like a thin pancake and almost burn it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a very good facsimile of it. It didn't have the nice flavors, but I almost got it right.
Okay.
So when you're experimenting, go mull.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
But experiment with your food and keep trying different things. We so often in our modern society get stuck in a rut of Monday night is steak and chips, Tuesday night is mac and cheese, Wednesday night is this, Thursday night is that. And you do that over and over again.
But every night could be steak and cheese and chips.
It could be, but
Steak, egg, and
not
chips is
not on the budget I've currently got. But yeah, just experiment with food. Enjoy cooking. We do a lot more cooking in this country than they do overseas. Guys overseas live on takeout because for them it's convenient. It's fast. There's so many. I know people that live in Germany that their apartment doesn't even have a kitchen.
Okay.
It's got room for a microwave and a kettle, and it's got a single sink. And they eat out almost every night.
Yes.
Because it's convenient.
Okay.
And same goes in the States. You look at New York apartments. It's a single room that's barely got enough room to swing a cat.
Yes.
So South Africans generally enjoy cooking. We braai all the time. We always busy doing stuff. And doesn't matter whether it's male, female, whatever. Everybody in South Africa, well, generally, people know how to cook.
And provide for themselves quite a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, get out there. Try a potjie if you haven't done one before. Make a stew if you haven't done one before. And just experiment with stuff. Use fresh ingredients. And I'm not saying go and make a bully beef stew. But go out there and learn. If you don't know how to cook, learn how to cook.
Yes.
It can be quite enjoyable.
Oh, well, the other things, in cooking, I look at, like if you're in an off-grid situation, how well does the cooked meal store at room temperature?
Yeah.
Because I know if you cook something with higher fat content, as it cools down, the fat creates a layer on top.
Yeah.
And so it protects it. Some guys up in Africa, they'll cook meat and fat together and then store it in a stomach. And as it cools down, it makes this congealed stuff that is
haggis-like.
Yeah, but it also protects it.
Yeah.
And then when you make this awesome meal, how well does it taste the next day after you reheat it?
Yeah.
Stews often taste way better. Other meals like fried chips taste
not so great. Yeah. Definitely not so great. There's nothing worse than cold slap chips.
Yeah.
But cold pizza still works.
Yes. It's a labor intensive for what you get in. And yeah.
But like I was saying, experiment with your foods. And if you are that way inclined that you want to try weird and wonderful things and you want to go ask your butcher for a sheep's stomach and try and make a haggis or something similar.
I would have a conversation with the butcher first on how well it's cleaned.
Yes.
Because cleaning tripe will put you off tripe. If you're
I'm not a organ eater. I prefer my meat to be muscly.
Well, the organs especially in an off-grid and survival situation, the organs give the best nutrients.
Yeah.
And so having at least tried, say, liver and onions and find a recipe that works for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Means that if that time comes, even though you don't eat it normally, you can still prepare it and
know how to cook it.
Because a lot of people, the first time they ever experience it is in a survival situation, and the guy's almost half dead before they try it.
Yeah. So you've had quite a bit of experience with preserving meats and that sort of thing. I've done very little of it. So what is the difference between like the normal salt that we buy and what you always see the guys talking about, kosher salt?
Well, based on my knowledge, kosher salt is literally just that. It's not iodinated, it is salt. There's
so it's pure salt.
Yeah, it's not no anti-caking agent added.
Okay.
And so I know at Soka you can buy just straight salt coarse that I use if I'm doing a dry brine or making just, if you hunt a lot, you invariably going to get blooded meat.
Yeah.
Stuff that has close to the wound.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will just throw it to the dogs. Now, one, I don't have dogs, and two, for me, I see that as a waste. So what you do is you make a brine and you put that meat in it. And then you massage it and you let it soak there for a while, and it actually draws the blood out the meat.
Okay.
So you can get the meat that doesn't have that wild, really not desirable flavor.
Okay.
It takes all that out. And even if you're doing like a marrow bone,
yes,
if they boated the marrow bone and they soak it in the salt water, it draws the blood out. So that when you cook it, you have the marrow cooking, but you don't have that cooked blood.
Yeah, no,
staining it, as it were. And then you can, when curing, you use kosher salt. And even when you're doing fermentation, you don't want to use iodinated salt because the iodine in it will destroy a lot of the beneficial bacteria that you want So your lactofermentation, you want to progress. So
Okay. That's
say-
probably why my chili sauce didn't work.
possibly what you do is like if you're doing a what's it called, sauerkraut, you take a cabbage, you put your 3.5% of salt with it, and you if you're doing a sauerkraut that's basically equilibrium, and I vacuum pack mine so it gets all the moisture out, I mean the air out before it even has moisture. And what happens is salt protects it from bad bacteria growing, or
Okay, yeah.
and then as your lactofermentation happens, it produces like a acidity, which also then protects your ferment. And air is the killer too. You want everything anaerobic, so without air. I suppose at some point we're going to go way more into, curing meats or curing foods and preserving, because that's a whole different. I mean, you can get
different
into
ball
canning.
game,
You can get cold preservation, hot preservation. Salt, vinegar, pickling, all that type of stuff.
So
and that's not today.
Yeah. So the food preps we've been talking about today is literally commercially available stuff.
Yes.
It's the stuff that you can go and buy in the store now and start packing away. Whereas once we get further down the road in our preps, we can get into, as you just said, into canning. I've never done canning. It's something I really want to learn how to do. As discussed previously, I've got a dehydrator. I do dehydrate occasionally, not as much as I would like to do.
Yes.
One day, hopefully, I'll have a freeze dryer when I'm a big boy, and I can freeze dry my own stuff, because that is my personal goal, to get a nice harvest right freeze dryer.
Yes.
I'm going to need a loan for that, I think. But yeah, food preservation and food prep are all work together.
Yes.
And learning how to do preservation can become part of your preps. And you'll find that as you go along with prepping, you will want to start doing preservation because you want to experiment.
Yes.
You want to know, if I add this to this, am I going to get this? And expanding your knowledge is always a good thing. Learning how to do things is always a good thing.
Yes.
You never know. You might have learned how to do pressure canning now at home, or water bath canning, and you lose your job. But now you know how to make jams.
Yeah.
And you've got a bit of money, and you can go buy some fruit and some sugar, and you can make jams and now sell those jams to make more money and start a small business.
Yes.
So knowledge is key, and learning how to do things is key. And I know we joked a while back about maybe doing our own cookbook, and we've been discussing putting a website together as well.
Yes.
And I think one of the things we're going to need to do on that website is maybe start a food blog on taking your preps and how to cook a meal with that. We've both got friends that are really good cooks, and I've got a couple of ideas in that route. So guys, keep your eyes open. There'll be news coming soon regarding the website, and if you've got recipes, send them to us. We'll try them out and we'll put them on the blog.
Yeah. And in that vein as well, we need to look at what are the spices and the stuff that you use the most, in food curing.
Yeah.
I mean, South Africa, I view the basic ones is coarse salt, kosher salt, pepper that's whole, and coriander that's whole, because those three are your basic of your biltong.
Yes.
And we know that flavor, and we like that flavor. And if you buy spirit vinegar in 5 liters, it's cheap. With that, you can cure a ton of stuff.
Yes.
And the next thing of food prep for me, and this is coming from a person with no green thumbs, seeds that you can plant.
Yeah.
Because even if it's just a few things that can give you something to eat.
Something as simple as a rosemary bush just adds a dimension of flavor to your food that you didn't necessarily have. Easy to grow things like thyme, marjoram, rosemary. These are plants that you can buy at your local garden center, put in your garden, and with minimal effort, they're very hard to kill. You really got to not try to look after them.
I managed to do that.
Okay, so you're a black thumb.
Yeah. For me, coriander is easy because you plant it, it grows, you harvest leaves, and you use it in cooking with your rice and stuff like that. You harvest the seeds when they come up. You keep the seeds. Next year you plant them again. Yeah. And so this keeping things alive for a long time, that's not me.
Okay. Well, I enjoy, as I said, I enjoy cooking. I enjoy growing stuff. So I've moved into a new house. I have got some planter boxes out the back that are going to get refurbed, and I'm going to try growing some stuff as well, which I will document hopefully on the website, and I'll let you guys know how my growing season goes. At the moment, we're getting towards midwinter, and not much is going to be seeding now. So we'll wait till it's a little bit warmer before I start growing some tomatoes.
Some things you have to sow in winter,
Yes.
so that it's ready.
Yeah.
But again, don't take my advice on growing things.
No, we'll get there. Anyway, dude, it's been wonderful chatting with you again, and
Great
we'll
to
see
see
you
your
next
new
week.
house.
Yeah, new house, new studio. I hope it's not too echoey. But
Doesn't sound like it.
we'll see what the
good.
sound quality is like. But good. I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Off Grid Survival. For more info and updates, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Off Grid Survival ZA. That's it for now. We will see you next time, and always remember, be prepared.